Hello. I'm going to do this Wellness Wednesday a day early and get some information out there to you about eating strategies. I'm going to be talking about wounded eating and working our way to eating to heal. I'm Shannon Myers. You can find me on social media under the Paleo Counselor or the Root Healing Practitioner. I'm a certified rehabilitation counselor, research fellow, adjunct professor, and integrative health practitioner, also a life coach, also a consultant, also a mom, also a human who has healed from many things. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a topic that I've been dodging publicly because I address eating individually. So I'm going to bring this information to you, and it may be triggering, or it may be empowering, or it could be nothing. It could be annoying. Who knows? So notice what it is bringing up and coming up for you. Notice those feelings. They're important. They're your truth. They may be areas to work on. But with eating, I work as an integrative practitioner. So let's define what that is. A lot of times people put me in the box of holistic, and I'm not. I am and I'm not. So I am the bridge from individuals from the medical model to the functional medicine model, and then back again. So I may work from, I embrace all strategies: Chinese medicine, holistic medicine, really, really advanced, innovative practices. I'm the first practitioner in the country to do a precision medicine pilot. And with that, that's right medication, right dosage with your genetics. And I've seen extreme healing in chronic health, mental health, and I facilitate precision medicine with a partnership with a genetic counseling startup and with your medications and your insurance. So that's FYI, I do that. But I am I'm holistic, but I also embrace super radical, innovative therapies like fecal microbiota transplants, things like that. I love the gut because with the gut, the brain and gut access, there is so much potential there to heal mental health conditions and physical health conditions. And that's what I'm really interested in, is root healing. And so I embrace all of it, because a lot of times people will come to me and they'll say, well, you're holistic, so you're not going to embrace this. Oh, no, no, no. I think that holistic strategies can be tied to the medical model and then back again. So that's where I'm the bridge. I work with functional medicine practitioners, holistic practitioners, and then specialists and doctors across the metro and across the United States with their patient populations that cannot heal, along with therapists and other health practitioners. And also I work with individuals who they are leaders, entrepreneurs, they own startups. I help them not only with their businesses, but also when they're facing burnout. So how do you lead with heart? How do you lead and remain whole? And so those are kind of the populations that I work with. And I also work with a lot of practitioners facing burnout, and mothers who have given a lot and they don't have a lot left, or individuals with a long list of diagnosis. Everybody. Everyone. So don't put me in the holistic box, because I think that what I am providing is more holistic and self-healing strategy to the masses, but individually I work with everyone on their unique situation, and that's where we're starting from today. So I work with individuals, families, couples, children, and food is at the primary one of the primary conversations that we have. When I work with someone, I start with, what's your story from birth? Like, what is your history? Let's start there. Our first conversation is about 75 minutes. I take a whole page of notes. I review all medical records for opportunities. And so with food, what I have found is that what can heal one person can harm another, and that is due to the mindset and trauma. And that has occurred prior to a food strategy. Here's an example. I had two ADHD cases at the same time, and one wanted holistic strategies, one wanted to have their medical model, the strategies to be honored alongside with other tools, and then precision medicine, because they were taking medications. And so facilitating a precision medicine panel to make sure that the medications that they were on were genetically the right dosage, and then they weren't interacting with other medications genetically, and that they're on the right classifications of medication. So we're talking about the same thing, but the entry point is different, and it's all okay. And that I hope that that message comes through. With me, it's all okay no matter where you're at. But then with food, I never make a blanket statement as to what someone should be eating, even based on a health condition, even though certain health conditions can line up with a certain eating strategy. Try not to say diet because it's a triggering word. But what can heal one person can harm another one based on their history with food, the way that they have been modeled or taught um, to honor food, their relationship with their body, their relationship with themselves. Have they experienced trauma within the medical model or within their family, or there's so many different scenarios that I take everyone where they're truly at. And while someone may come to me and they may potentially benefit from an eating strategy, if their mindset and we haven't resolved the mindset and the trauma hasn't been resolved, the food isn't going to cut it. I see a lot of individuals who have gone to the ends of the earth to get a diagnosis, to get in to see a functional medicine doctor, that have a whole team of practitioners, and they've experienced trauma was what expressed genetically or epigenetically expressed their health condition in the first place. And then they go around the medical model merry-go-round and become re-traumatized because they're not being heard, they're not receiving trauma-informed care, the root wounds aren't being addressed. And they end up seeing me with only a handful of foods that they should be eating, but they have no evidence or no level of healing by eating these foods. So maybe they're on the autoimmune paleo diet, they've been on that for 3 years and they're not healing. If you've been on any eating strategy and you haven't seen any benefit in 6 months, something's going on. Your limbic system is out of whack. You have other health condition, like a root chronic infection like mold or Lyme or Epstein-Barr, or there's like about 20 of them. I'm going to talk about those later. But you might have a root gut infection. You might have small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. You may have subclinical hypothyroidism. Your hormones could be out of whack. You could be eating a diet strategy that is triggering. And then genetically, I'm one of the few practitioners that actually dives into genetics. There's like 2 of us in the country. No, 3. There's New York, Florida, and Iowa. That I know of. There may be another one out there. Please let me know. We can form our own support group together. Genetically, your weight is 20 to 60% of your weight is tied to your genetics. Here's an example. With my genetics, I have 18 SNPs that are tied to mold. So I am a survivor of SIRS, chronic mold illness. And with that, diet or nuts that are really, really healthy, I cannot have them because of the alpha toxins that are in them. So if I'm even saying that word right, let me know. I mean, you get what you pay for, right, in these free videos. Okay, so I'm going to get to it. I'm going to make these videos faster. I get so excited to share this information with everybody. Okay, wounded eating. Letting everybody know just my mindset around eating, because it is so individualized. And here is the thing that I struggle the most with, giving this information out to the collective healing of our society, is I don't know your unique situation. So I could majorly miss the mark with you because I don't know what has gone on with you, what you've tried, what you've not tried. So please take that into account. This is general information, what I see often. And if you've had to dive deep into it, trust that. What I am going to say is, if you have that mindset of, if I eat this, I if you're getting scared to eat, if you're noticing symptomology as leading up to eating, your limbic system is out of whack. I am a limbic system rehab specialist, and this is where I get called in my community to walk through cases that are not healing, because I I know this information inside and out, and I use a bunch of different strategies to heal trauma. 50% of Americans have experienced a high ACEs score, a high adverse childhood experience score. I'm going to get this public out to you so you guys can check your own ACEs score to understand what trauma truly is, especially childhood trauma. And with childhood trauma, you are 70 to 80% having 70 to 80% increased likelihood to having an autoimmune condition epigenetically expressed. So trauma turns on genes in your body, and genes express disease. And you can also, just like genes can get turned on, they can turn off again. We can heal anything. And what I do with limbic system rehab is I also work to retrain the brain, your operating system. We can upgrade it with some practice, with some work, with some tools, with diving into it. We can do it. Okay. So I'm going to share this infographic that I made about wounded eating and then eating to heal. These are different types of mindsets around food that I see often, and then I could write I literally could just write pages and pages of things that I've seen around food. And to give you some strategies that maybe you can start to work on to have more healed eating strategies. So I wrote out 6. One of the mindset patterns that I see is, if I don't follow this blank diet correctly, I won't heal. I see this a lot within like the AIP or the paleo community, or if you've been diagnosed with a certain health conditions like small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. There's a lot of fear around, oh my gosh, if I don't follow this exactly, I'm not going to heal. That thinking gets put into your subconscious, and your whole body either rises up to respond in fear, and then your body cannot rest and digest appropriately. So symptoms will become increased with that thought pattern. So a mindset shift with that is around flexibility. And then your mantra would be, I am learning to be flexible as I heal. So kind of moving along that path. The second wounded eating pattern I see is, my weight or my size defines my worth. And thankfully, we have a body positivity movement going on now, but our society unfortunately has conditioned us to be only worthy of our size and what our body looks like. And bodies come in all shapes and sizes. And so with that, the mindset shift is around acceptance. And then your new mantra is, I am worthy as is. Okay, the third mindset shift is, my identity is tied to blank diet. This one was mine. This was my trap. I was I've all of them, paleo, AIP, depending on health conditions, all of that. I was very much, I found part of healing is finding what's going on. And so you become empowered along the healing journey when you see that food is medicine and it can help you. However, you can go too far. You can swing to the other end of the spectrum. And I did this. And so I went from eating the standard American diet, running through the drive-through, sick, 14 different conditions, 14 different medications, including cancer, finding paleo, seeing a lot of success. And then that became like, I was spreading the word about that. And that became really my, and the paleo counselor, part of that is tied into that, but also taking it way back into hunter and gatherer societies, just kind of trying to remind everybody that, food is medicine. But with that, you have to start to check your ego, because you can start to hold yourself back by some of that, by not adding back in foods like a Whole30, staying on that forever. If it's helpful to you and you have your mindset is on lock, stay with it, boo. But if your whole identity and sense of who you are is around what you're eating, check the ego. So with that, the mantra could be, I am unique, and so is the way that I eat. Okay, so the fourth wounded eating pattern I see is I force myself to eat a certain way. Maybe you force yourself to Maybe you force yourself to eat a certain number of calories. You're a Weight Watchers client. You force yourself to, you fall off the track on the weekends and then you get back onto an extreme diet during the week. And so the mindset shift right there is around self love. And so your new mantra could be, I am enough and eat to support my energy levels. That's a big shift when you go from being extremely calorie counting and just eating and hating food to what if I eat because I love myself and I like having energy? Okay. The fifth mindset shift is type is a healthy relationship with food was never modeled to me. I see this a lot with individuals that have disordered eating patterns, maybe a parent or someone that was close to them during their formative years of life, especially like middle school. I see a lot of disordered eating that starts in childhood or middle school, high school, college, um, and those patterns stay stuck. And with that, the mindset shift is around education. So education, maybe you weren't modeled that. Okay, that's a fact. You weren't modeled that. No other story goes into that. The mantra is then I am my own teacher and I'm willing to try on new habits. You can change. Even if you were never modeled a healthy eating strategy or having body positivity, you can shift that yourself. And then the sixth one is I'm a lifelong yo-yo dieter. Anyone identify with that one? So with that, a mindset shift could be around balance. And your new mantra could be, I am embracing a healthy lifelong relationship with food. My belief is that diets don't work primarily because we are eating out of dislike for ourselves, food, and have low-grade wounds and or trauma. And if you don't embrace a lifelong eating, a way to eat, you can't sustain that. So your body's not going to stay with that. So whole foods, just whole foods in themselves, sticking to that. And it's not as exciting because you can't get that quick, like, oh, I lost 60 pounds in a month. You're not going to get that. It's going to be over the long term. But at the same time, you're going to be able to sustain that over the long term. And there's certainly a lot of ways to really hack your body with what you eat, especially with nutrigenomics and genetics and all of that. And I certainly have done that myself. I do that for clients. If they're interested, I will go into their genetic data and check for certain genetic SNPs that can be very much tied to their health conditions like a histamine tolerance, or there might be a CBS gene mutation in there, or MTHFR, or mold genes, or whatever that is. And that can be empowering. Where it becomes, when you start to embrace food, there is a part where it becomes very empowering, but then there's a part where if we don't resolve those mindset wounds and that black and white thinking and those self-limiting lifelong beliefs that we have about ourselves, this is where the food can start to go into a territory where someone shows up at my door, virtually or otherwise, and they're only eating a handful of foods, not without the information to back that up and without any answers and scared to eat. And so this is what I'm talking to is a lot of individuals that are in support groups that are kind of getting bullied when they're trying to spread their wings and flies. After an elimination diet, after about 6 months, if you're not able to add in additional food, something else is going on. Maybe you truly have celiac disease. Maybe you have a mold illness. Maybe. We don't know. But I also get asked a lot of times about food allergy panels and talking with a lot of other clinicians and doctors out there. If you have the money to spend on it, go ahead. You may have a limited way to eat right now and have food sensitivities because of a low grade chronic infection or something else that's going on. So With that, understanding what is keeping a food journal is going to be your number one way to understand what is impacting you. But then understanding that as you heal, that doesn't mean that you stay away from those foods forever, unless it's a genetic snip that's turned on and left on. And there are some conditions where that is the case. I use food as healing when someone has the mindset and we have first addressed the trauma. So I do want to talk a little bit about, I've got the digestive system behind me, just limbic system rehab. Okay, getting into teacher mode. I'm teaching again in the spring, guys. You guys ready for it? All my grad students are like, oh no. Changing up the syllabus, guys. So everyone that had me the last time was like, oh boy. Okay. The nervous system, going back to this, your vagus nerve in the base of the brain here connects all of your body processes together, your heart, your lungs, your digestion, to the digestive system in here. So it's all connected. I'm going to give you some resources so you can start to self-educate yourself, because if you have the information, oh boy, you can embrace and unleash your inner healer. Really great limbic system tool. The body keeps the score. Love it. I'm going to show you this little thing, this little diagram on trauma here. So they spelled adrenals wrong here, but this is how trauma is expressed in the body and where it kind of goes. And here's a system where it goes to this is what TMJ, trauma, thyroid, old wounds, not speaking your truth, heart and lungs. That can be tied to GI stuff too. Asthma is tied to small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, the GI tract, and then adrenal glands is where they spell it wrong. So just this page 51 on the body keeps the score. Annie Hopper's Wired to Heal and DNRS. This is what I coach on quite often, and I'm brought in on cases that do not heal. And then polyvagal theory is kind of where these are the tools that I use to retrain the brain, calm the limbic system. So 50% of Americans have experienced childhood trauma that leads to health conditions. Trauma gets trapped in the body. The body truly does keep the score. This leads to nervous system dysregulation. So your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system becomes dysregulated. So then what do? We embrace the vagus nerve, healing, humming, singing, gargling. And then there's meditation practices that I do teach to embrace the vagus nerve. So comfort zones, relational safety, embodiment. I do this with my psychedelic integration clients as well. It's the total embodiment of where you're going. You're essentially retraining the brain, the operating system of the entire body, and resetting. So a lot of individuals will come to me and they have shallow breathing. 100% of mental health symptoms are tied to limbic system dysregulation. And I want to get this information out there so that you know that you can heal. So with this, I have worked with, I want to talk to the populations that are healing here. Chronic fatigue syndrome, multiple chemical sensitivity, fibromyalgia, chronic Lyme disease, mold illness, food sensitivity, anxiety, chronic pain, POTS, PTSD, OCD, trauma, chronic stress, constipation, diarrhea, and literally any other symptom can be tied back to trauma and limbic system dysregulation. So it addresses the root conditions and symptoms related to chronic stress, limbic system dysregulation, trauma, and individuals who are stuck in the flight or fight response mode. So the limbic system is important for forming memories, determining level of safety felt. It also assigns emotional significance to what we see, smell, hear, feel, and taste. This is why it's known as the seat of the social and emotional intelligence and is the anxiety switch in the brain. So the limbic system is closely integrated with the immune system. This is your disease defense system, the endocrine system, so your hormone regulation, your thyroid, diabetes, adrenals, An autonomic nervous system, which regulates unconscious bodily responses, blood pressure, breathing, and internal organs, your heart, stomach, and intestines. It's drug-free, step-by-step. It's a program that I use all the time. And if people don't use the program, there's other ones out there. I'll create a program for you. I'm going to bring this information to the world in little bite-sized chunks and pieces because it is so radically transformational. I cannot believe I cannot believe the healing that I've witnessed and that I've experienced personally. My ACEs score is a 5, and I have had to resolve my own childhood trauma and have done so in a variety of ways. And I work on limbic system healing and brain retraining every day. I've healed from OCD, PTSD, depression, anxiety, POTS, all of the autoimmune conditions. I have a whole cluster of them. I mean, you could go on and on. A histamine intolerance, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. I mean, I have like a laundry list of things that have healed. And it wasn't just the limbic system, it was all the other things. But it's so hysterical how the universe works, and that your wounds are they're really, my purpose in life. And to be able to have the educational background, have the clinical experience, and then have the life lived experience is just like, it's a triple threat. And it's not like it's me, it's just this is how it worked out for me. And I'm just stepping up into, there's a reason why everything fell apart at some level, because I'm supposed to be doing exactly what this is. And so that is the work that I do with my clients. I thank you guys all for watching. If you guys have questions, please let me know. If you are wanting to meet with if you need a referral to a practitioner, I know dietitians, I know eating disorder specialists, functional medicine doctors, GI specialists, doctors all over the place. And if I don't, then I'll get to know them to refer you to where you can go. There's healers and practitioners all over, even within the Western traditional medical model. There are individuals that get it, that understand it. OMM specialists are great. These are typically DOs. Des Moines University has some OMM specialists too that can help you, especially around digestion and calming your body, your nervous system down. And it's a great entry point into what's next for you. Healing and wholeness is a lifelong journey. Start with where you're at. Radical acceptance of the present moment, and the present moment just is the isness of life. That's acceptance without the story behind it. Whatever is happening is whatever's happening. If you and when you start to take a step back, whether it be through yoga, through dance, through breath work, through walking outside in nature, through mindfulness, through exercise, through movement, through singing, through dancing, through creativity, creation in the world, whatever that is for you, that's your meditation. That's mindfulness. That's what gives you a step back from your incessant narration and storytelling in your mind. And that's the entry point to healing. So whatever that is for you, if it's journaling, whatever it is, keep doing that. Don't listen to anyone out there unless it really resonates with you and where you're at. If something feels off, it's off. Start to trust that. If you're triggered, it could be because of trauma, and then you might need boundaries, but it also could be a trigger, could also be your ego needs to be checked. And like I said, I share with my personal story with eating the way that I ate for a really, really, really long time, thinking that that was it. I didn't really lean into doing the work around the mindset. Now that I have, having a really healthy relationship with food, and I understand what everything does, what I can and can't eat, or choose or not to eat rather. And then I don't worry. I don't have no fear with eating out, even with celiac and mold illness. It's not a big deal, because if if something happens, if I get glutened, then I do what I do when I get gluten, and it becomes just a practice of just sitting with discomfort and paying attention to other things and getting outside of that story of I'm never going to heal, because I have and I am, and wholeness is possible. We can heal. Spread the news. Thank you guys all for watching. Bye bye.